Hello, good afternoon. We are here for another Mediumship literature group. We meet every Monday. Actually, we are meeting now each other Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. If you would like to join us in our live discussions, you can contact me through Revenant, my page on Facebook, Revenant, or my website, Revenant.world, and I'll be happy to add you to our live discussions. And afterwards, you can find our videos on YouTube, on our channel, Revenant, as well. So we are going to, we are reading the Spirits book by Allan Kardec. We finished the Gospel According with Spiritism, and now we are on the chapter 6 of the Spirits book, the Incarnation of Spirits. Let's do our initial prayer and we can start reading. Dear God, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here together, reading the messages from you, this wonderful collection of wisdom straight from spirits to help us to grow and to evolve as humans. Please help us to understand the things we need to learn and to apply into our daily lives. Thank you very much for your unconditional love and your help. Thank you very much. Amen. So, Catherine, would you like to read for us? Or
Sure. Sure.
Okay. So, chapter 6, Incarnation of Spirits, on the Gospel, the Spirits book by Allan Kardec. Thank you.
Aim of Incarnation. Incarnation of Spirits. 132. What is the aim of the incarnation of spirits? It is a necessity imposed on them by God as the means of attaining perfection. For some of them, it is an expiation, for others, a mission. In order to attain perfection, it is necessary for them to undergo all of the vicissitudes of the corporeal existence. It is the experience acquired by expiation that constitutes its usefulness. Incarnation has also another aim, viz., that of fitting the spirit to perform his share of the work in the work of creation, for which purpose he is made to assume a corporeal apparatus in harmony with the material state of each world into which he is sent, and by means of which he is enabled to accomplish the special work in connection with that world which has been appointed to him by the divine ordering. He is thus made to contribute his quota towards the general weal, while achieving his own advancement. The action of corporeal beings is necessary to the carrying on of the work of the universe. But God, in his wisdom, has willed that this action should furnish them with the means of progress and an advancement towards himself. And thus, through an admirable law of his providence, all things are linked together, and solidarity is established between the realms of nature. 133. Is the incarnation necessary for the spirits who, from the beginning, have followed the right road? All are created simple and ignorant. They get instruction in the struggles and tribulations of the corporeal life. God, being just, could not make some of them happy without trouble and without exertion, and consequently without merit. But it's so. What do spirits gain by having followed the right road, since they are not thereby accepted from the pain of corporeal life? They arrive more quickly at the goal. And besides, the suffering of life are often a consequence of the imperfection of the spirits. Therefore, the fewer his imperfection, the less will be his suffering. He who is neither envious, jealous, avaricious, nor ambitious will not have to undergo the torments which are a consequence of those defects. The soul. What is the soul? An incarnate spirit. What was the soul before its union with a body? A spirit. Souls and spirits are then the very same thing. Yes, souls are only spirits. Before uniting itself with a body, the soul is one of the intelligent beings who people the invisible world and who temporarily assume a fleshly body in order to effect their purification and enlightenment. Is there in man anything else than a soul and a body? There is the link which unites the soul and the body. What is the nature of that link? It is semi-material, that is to say, of a nature intermediate between soul and body, as it must necessarily be, in order that they may be enabled to communicate with each other. It is by means of this link that the spirit acts upon matter, and that matter acts reciprocally upon the spirit. Man is thus formed of three essential elements or parts. First, the body of material being, analogous to the animals and animated by the same vital principle. The soul, or incarnated spirit, of which the body is the adaptation. Third, the intermediary principle, the perispirit, a semi-material substance which constitutes the innermost envelope of the spirit and unites the soul with the body. This triplicity is analogous to that of the fruit, which consists of the germ, perisperm, and the rind or shell. 136. Is the soul independent of the vital principle? The body is only the envelope of the soul, as we have repeatedly told you. Can a body exist without a soul? Yes, but it is only when the body ceases to live that the soul quits it. Previous to birth, the union between the soul and the body is not complete, but when this union is definitively established, it is only the death of the body that can sever the bonds that unite it to the soul and thus allow the soul to withdraw from it. Organic life may vitalize the body without a soul, but the soul cannot inhabit a body deprived of organic life. What would our body be if it had no soul? A mass of flesh without intelligence. Anything you choose to call it, excepting a man. Confusing. 137. Can the same spirit incarnate itself in two different bodies at the same time? No. The spirit is indivisible and cannot simultaneously animate two different beings. Vid in the Medium's book, the chapter on bicorporeality and transfiguration. 138. What is to be thought of the opinion of those who regard the soul as being the principle of material life? That is a question of definition. We attach but slight importance to medium words. You should begin by agreeing among yourselves as to the exact meaning of the expressions you employ. 139. Certain spirits and certain philosophers before them have defined the soul as an animated spark that has emanated from the great whole. Why this contradiction? There is nothing contradictory in such definition. Everything depends on the meaning you attribute to the words you use. Why have you not a word for each thing? An animated spark that has emanated from the great. Okay. The word soul is employed to express very different things. Sometimes it is used to designate the principle of life. And in this sense, it is correct to say figuratively that the soul is an animated spark that has emanated from the great whole. These latter words designate the universal source of the vital principle, of which each being absorbs a portion that returns to the general mass after its death. This idea does not exclude that of a moral being, a distinct personality. Independent of matter and preserving its own individuality, it is This being, which at other times is called the soul, and it is in this sense that we speak of the soul as an incarnate spirit. In giving different definitions of the soul, the spirits who have given them have spoken according to their various ways of applying that word, and also according to the terrestrial idea with which they are more or less imbued. This apparent confusion results from the insufficiency of human language, which does not possess a specific word for each idea, an insufficiency that gives rise to a vast number of misapprehensions and discussions. It is for this reason that the higher spirits tell us to begin to distinctly defining the meaning of the words we employ. 130 and 40. What is to be thought of the theory according to which the soul is subdivided into as many parts as there are muscles in the body, and thus presides over each of the bodily functions? That again depends on the meanings attached to the word soul. If by soul is meant the vital fluid, that theory is right. If the word is used to express an incarnate spirit, it is wrong. We have already told you that a spirit is indivisible. It transmits movements to the bodily organs through the intermediary fluids, but it undergoes no division. Nevertheless, there are spirits who have given this definition. Spirits who are ignorant may mistake the effect for the cause. The soul acts through intermediary of the bodily organs, and those organs are animated by the vital fluid which is distributed among them, arid more abundantly in those which constitutes the centers or foci of movement for each organism. But this explanation becomes inadmissible when the term soul is employed to designate the spirit which inhabits the body during life and quits it at death. Is there 141? Is there any truth in the opinion of those who suppose that the soul is exterior to the body and environs it? The soul is not shut up in the body like a bird in a cage. It radiates in all directions and manifests itself outside the body as a light radiates from a glass globe, or as a sound is propagated from a sonorous center. In this sense, the soul may be said to be exterior to the body, but it is not therefore to be considered as enveloping the body. Soul has two envelopes. The first or innermost of these, of a light and subtle nature, is what you call the perispirit. The other gross material heavy is the body. The soul is the center of both these envelopes, like the germ in the stone of the fruit, as we have already said. 142. What is to be thought of that other theory according to which the formation of the soul of the child is carried on to completion during the successive periods of the human lifetime? The spirit is as entire in the child as in the adult. It is only the bodily organs or instruments of the manifestations of the soul that are gradually developed and completed in the course of a lifetime. Here again, you mistake the effect for the cause. 143. Why do not all spirits define the soul in the same way? All spirits are not equally enlightened in regards to these matters. Some spirits are still so little advanced intellectually as to be incapable of understanding abstract ideas. They are like children in your world. Other spirits are full of false learning and make a vain parade of words in order to impose their authority upon those who listen to them. They also resemble too many in your world. And besides, even spirits who are really enlightened may express themselves in terms which appear to be different, but which at bottom mean the same thing. in regard to matters which your language is incapable of expressing dearly, and which can only be spoken of to you by means of figures and comparisons that you mistake for literal statements of fact. 144. What is to be understood of the soul of the world? The universal principle of life and intelligence from which individualities are produced. But very often, they who make use of these terms do not know what they mean by them. The word soul is so elastic that everyone interprets it according to his own imaginings. Certain persons have attributed a soul to the earth, which must be understood as indicating the assemblage of devoted spirits who direct your actions in the right direction when you listen to them, and who are, as it were, the lieutenants of God in the administration of your globe. $145. 145. How is it that so many philosophers, both ancient and modern, have so long been discussing psychological questions without having arrived at the truth? Those men were precursors of the eternal truths of the true Spiritist doctrine, for which they have prepared the way. They were men and therefore subject to error, because they often mistook their own ideas for the true light. But the very errors have served the cause of truth by bringing into relief both sides of the argument. Moreover, among those errors are to be found many great truths which a comparative study of the various theories that's put forth would enable you to discover. 146. Has the soul a circumscribed and determinate seat in the body? No, but it may be said to reside more especially in the head in the case of men of great genius and of all who think much, and in the heart in the case of those who feel much and whose action have always a humanitarian aim. What is to be thought of the opinion of those who place the soul in the center of organic life? The spirit may be said to inhabit more especially such a part of your organism, because it is to such a part that all the sensations converge. But those who place it in what they consider to be the center of vitality confound it with the vital fluid or principle. Nevertheless, it may be said that the soul is more especially present in the organs which serve for the manifestation of the intellectual and moral qualities. Should I take a break?
Sure. You'd like to, you said there's some parts that were confusing for you. Let's discuss.
Yeah, I was referring to the fact that they implied that you could have empty shells, basically. They were kind of alluding to that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we haven't talked about that yet.
Okay.
So, I know that it's kind of a conception that goes around, but I'm just confused by it.
Yes, there's, they said it's possible to continue the existence of, the body continues to exist for a time after the soul has left it. Before birth, and the union between the soul and the body is incomplete. But once the union has been definitely established, only that of the body can destroy it. Then only then can the soul withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
So,
so maybe somebody on life support could lose that connection, for example.
Yes. So I don't know if ever, when I worked with comatose patients, they have experiences like this. They were outside of their body, looking themselves in the machines and
Mhm.
doctors and things like that.
Yeah, so many NDEs experienced that, and they were able to tell what was going on in the other rooms and be
Yes,
very precise and detailed and be like, why don't you see me?
yes.
Yes.
So I think that's what they meant
Mm-hmm.
in situations like that. But the connection, until the body is completely dead and the time of that being is decided by God to die,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the spirits 100% leave the body, because there's always in those cases there's always a little link still between the spirit and the body. The perispirit is not 100% detached from it, and therefore the spirit is, that
Mm-hmm.
linked between those two. So only when the body is 100% dead, then the spirits leave. That's what they say as well. Is that clear now?
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering because I feel like some people like to put other people down by pretending like some people are soulless or whatever.
No, that's not. A person
Yeah,
can.
that's not what they were referring to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's important that you clarify, because
Yeah.
it's very important part of the definition of what is a human being,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is a spirit, a perispirit, which Americans call, or other even Europeans call, the magnetic field
Mm-hmm.
body. So there's no way that someone can live their whole life without a spirit.
No, no, no. It makes sense now. Then I think what people are referring to is more like immature or
Yes.
uninvolved.
It's like we have a say also that say you have no blood in your veins, right?
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah, there's the figurative language to say the same thing. You have no heart.
Yeah, heartless. Yeah.
Yes. So it means that a person has no empathy for others. There's like is very like mean sometimes, or has a really low level character or underdeveloped spirit. They are this way, right? So but it's not because they don't have a spirit or a soul, it's because the spirit is underdeveloped, or
Hmm.
sometimes they acquired that defense mechanism. We cannot never really judge people as well. Sometimes people appear to be cold, but it's just a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Fact, they are so sensitive, they have been so hurt that they close themselves in a shell. But deep inside, they are able to empathize and help others. So, any other question or comment?
Um, from my understanding, they kind of like brush off the idea of Gaia. 144. What is to be understood by the soul of the world? So certain persons have also attributed a soul to the earth, which must he understood as indicated the assemblage of devoted spirits who direct your actions in the right direction when you listen to them and were, as it were, the lieutenants of gods in the administration of your globe. So basically, they're saying that Gaia is like just a bunch of well-intended spirits.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, the whole concept of the universe, based on what the spirits are revealed to us from beginning to the end in every aspect, is that every spirit means individuality and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
There is such a thing as a collective energy, yes. So, and that's what perhaps is what we call Gaia. but some people understood as an actual soul. But the earth or nature is not an individual, is a system, right? So a system cannot have one individual soul. Is a core energy, yes. The same way that a family has a core energy, a country has a core energy, the earth or the planets or the universe also has a core energy, which is the sum of the collective energy of those that inhabited it. But it's not a soul. A soul is an individual that has responsibilities, that has choices, that has destiny, and that has, otherwise it defeats the purpose. What's the choice? What's the evolution of the soul of the earth, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's contradicting and would not have any purpose. So that's the difference. And also the whole idea of evolution of the spirit. So for a spirit to evolve, it has to go through individual experiences, right? Like we have in each incarnation. We are immersed in a system. We have families, we have our countries, we have our, cultures, our planet. But we are individuals. What these choices I make in my life reflects the result, the evolution of my spirit. These choices you make reflects on your own evolution. Even though we are sharing a lot of things, we can be in the same page on many things. In cases of groups and families, what one does affects the others, and sometimes people follow each other or they are interrelated in many different aspects. But at the end of the day, we all are individually responsible for our own choices, and that's what's going to determine the next next step. What are the lessons we have learned? What are the progressions we have acquired in each incarnation? And what's going to happen next? We never go back, we never regress, but we can be stuck in our evolutionary process. And that's based exclusively on our personal choices. So that's why, it's a matter of sometimes naming, right? Naming right. What people call soul is somehow energy. But the soul and spirits are always individual. So, but what is the purpose of the incarnation, which is the beginning of this chapter? What you understood by the purpose of the incarnation, which is a very important aspect of our existence.
Evolving, learning.
Exactly.
Mission. So like they said, some people have expiation of wrongs to do, and some people have missions to carry out, but in the end it's all about progressing.
Exactly. So that's why it makes perfect sense when we think about our existence in a continual evolutionary process, right? And the reincarnations makes perfect sense, because when we see around in each life we see around us, we see so many different kinds of people, right? Some people are so enlightened, and or they have such an easy life, they have everything so easy. Others are so difficult, they have such a hard lives and need to undergo such a huge challenges throughout their lives. Some are born with diseases, some are born with mental retardation, others are born with as genius, and they know things from when they are children. They have an extraordinary talents. So why those differences? If we think of our life as one individual life existence, would that be fair? Right? God would be unfair, right? Why they give life in that so hard for some with such a limitations, such limited resources, and to others such an abundance of resources would not make sense, would not be fair. So the only explanation and the only uh, way of, for us to understand that makes sense and and it's also congruent with this science that we know, like we know that materially we all evolve, nature evolves, right? All the planets evolve, all the beings evolve, and that's proven through science. So it's beautiful to see that our evolution as our existence as a spirit is not detached from our evolution as material. Is a different thing, right? Is different nature, but it is not congruent, it's not crashing with the evolution of everything else, the planets, the beings, the creatures, the plants. And so, and the incarnation has this purpose to help us, to put us into practice, because when we are not incarnated, we have the theory, right? We have a ability to understand things and to know, to learn certain things in theory, but then how we're going to prove it is to practice, to put that, to go through, the trials of our existence. As a spirit don't feel pain, they don't have hunger, they don't feel thirst, they don't need to work to make money and to buy food and to buy shelter or to pay for shelter. So we need to go through all those things and the hardships of relationships, so many difficult things that we need to undergo when we are incarnated. And that's what makes us evolve. If we pass, depending on how we handle all those difficulties, would determine what's going to happen next, which lessons we have acquired, we have learned, and which kind of existence we're going to have next based on those lessons learned. So after we learn a lesson, we don't need to go to the same lesson. So the more effort we put in learning and progressing and doing the right thing, the less we're going to suffer. And that's what they say as well here. So we can stop here and continue on the last part of this chapter, materialism, next week. So we can prepare for the next group. So let's do our final prayer, and would be it for today. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to be here, learning from you, from these wonderful teachings. Help the ones who are listening to us online to also benefit from it, and help us to put those wise words and teachings in our daily lives. Thank you for your unconditional love. Amen. All right. I'll see you on in 2 weeks here on 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can contact me through my Facebook page, Revenant, or my website, revenant.world, and I'll be happy to add you to our live discussions on our classes. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you then. Bye.